Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, Sacred Geography, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Wednesday, May 24th, around 8:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2023. Powerful super typhoon Mawar slams Guam with heavy rain and damaging winds. The good news is that eye wall replacement occurred right before it made landfall, so it was much weaker than expected. Keep calm. It's boom time. 2 dead and 7 injured in Texas tornado-warned storm. Fire officials say a house under construction collapsed due to high winds as a strong line of storms moved through the area just north of Houston. Thoughts and prayers go out to the victims. AccuWeather forecasters are monitoring for tropical development near the southeast U.S. coast. This is offshore of South Carolina. Regardless of whether a tropical or subtropical system forms, AccuWeather meteorologists say a stormy Memorial Day weekend is in the cards for parts of the southeast. Hail does more than $30,000 in damage to Macon County Sheriff's Fleet. Wow. The storm struck on the evening of Saturday, May 6, 2023, damaging 6 pickups and SUVs. And, well, just a little bit of dents there. Nothing spectacular. Severe thunderstorm watch issued for New Mexico earlier today. San Antonio could see a few showers ahead of a Memorial Day weekend. And weather whiplash in Duluth as temperatures surge and plummet. Grand solar minimum much. The temp surged to 83 degrees before dropping like a rock Tuesday evening, down to 48 degrees by 11 p.m. Holy macaroni. Cold snap may have wiped out the Upper Valley apple crop. That is not good news. Nora Lake, holding her daughter Fern, picks the central flower from a cluster on an apple tree to look for damage in the orchard at Sweetland Farm in Norwich, Vermont. This is the first year that all of our fruit didn't get damaged. Check out the video. Typhoon Mawar impacting Guam and CNMI. The center of Typhoon Mawar is passing just north of Guam today with destructive winds, life-threatening storm surge, and torrential rain, which may result in landslides and flash flooding. A typhoon warning remains in effect for Guam and Rota. A flash flood warning is in effect for Guam. Mawar is forecast to intensify slowly over the next few days while moving away from the Marianas. Take a look at Iowa. It is in the gray. Ashfall advisory. What? It's probably an air quality alert, but it also could be due to the smoke choking out Canada. But most of the fires have been put out as predicted. Powerful Typhoon Mawar slams Guam. It doesn't seem like there's a large casualty list, which is good news, but the full review of the situation won't come out until the morning. Guam government Leon Guerrero implored residents to stay at home until conditions are declared safe for travel on Wednesday evening. Stay calm and stay informed and stay safe. Here's the current position of Mawar far off from Guam. Current sustained winds at 150 miles per hour. It is expected to intensify there to 155, 155, 160 as it moves east. That is a banger. 165. Holy macaroni. So that will be the peak right there Friday at noon for Super Typhoon Mawar. Now, what is an eye wall replacement cycle? Well, it's good news it happened right before it made landfall on Guam. It dropped the winds from 150 to just 110 miles per hour. I think the highest wind gusts were 105 at the airport. But eye wall replacement happens frequently during long-lasting storms where the eye wall becomes intense, breaks down, and reestablishes. And during the breakdown, the storm weakens quite considerably, which is what happened with Mawar right before landfall on Guam. Take a look at the map in North America. You can see some of those pop-up storms in Texas tomorrow, North Texas, and then that tropical system off the coast here they're looking at for Friday and Saturday. Could bring some heavy surf and dangerous conditions for South Carolina and North Kakalaki as well. As that lingers there, here we got Saturday, may even move onshore here. Yeah, bringing some, well, that would be a little tropical disturbance moving inland there, bringing some heavy rain through the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. And that is not going to be a fun weekend for you in South Carolina in that region. Snow is still falling in the forecast through June 9th. So take a look at that. High elevation snow falling well into June as the lakes are rising. Look at Lake Powell. rising to the highest level in years and continuing in an exponential vertical fashion. Let's see if we can move this over so you can see that full. It is now above 3,550 feet. The highest it reached last year was 3,540. So 10 feet higher than last year and rising rapidly at Lake Mead, or at Lake Powell. Lake Mead as well, rising rapidly, passing last year's mark as predicted. We said by June, and certainly it happened earlier, early mid-May here, and it is coming up. It's going to meet potentially the 2021 numbers, and Lake Mead is rapidly filling as well, as predicted. Now, dozens of fires have been put out. There's just a few left up here due to that precipitation, so the smoke is greatly reduced, which is good news for people in North America. More precipitation on the way to help out. Seismic update. Well, no quakes to note. What is this thing? Over in Kansas, 3.2. Probably a frac quake. We did have some activity in the Banda Sea at M6.2. Nothing spectacular. No tsunami warnings or threats. But there has been an uptick in seismicity at the Tyrannus fracture zone, which is now quieting down. This is in the northern portion of Iceland. Let's see if that's picked up again. Not really. So we had a quick flurry of activity over the last 24 hours up here. And I will show you where that region is. Up there, right there, like swimwear. So that seems to be coming to a close at the Tyrannus fracture zone, which is an offshore area where there could be some volcanic activity under the ocean occurring. Here we have another map of that seismic activity. And you can see how it's actually in multiple regions. That's kind of interesting. There's an island out here, Grimsey Island. Now let's talk about Popo, continuing to erupt in bigger and more spectacular fashion. A puff to 35,000 feet today, I'm sure sent ash back over Puebla or other cities nearby. There are millions, tens of millions of people within a 65-mile radius of this dangerous volcano. Now, the country's largest active volcano began erupting last week, and millions of people are facing possible evacuation orders. Yes, 3 million people live near Mexico's 18,000-foot Popo volcano, are facing evacuation orders as it continues to spew ash across the region, forcing schools to close, hundreds of flights to be delayed or canceled. Here's everything you need to know about the volcano. And as always, all the links will be below, so go check it out. Worldwide volcano news update. We were just talking about volcanoes. We've got Swanosima puffing to 6,000. Sangay, 20,000 foot puff today. Etna, Popo, Semeru, Reventador, and more. Popo erupting again, ongoing to 28,000. Reventador to 15. Earlier today, Popo went to 35,000 right here. So, and Liwotolo. Lava flow and eruption continuing there. So a lot of activity going on as Etna has minor Strombolian explosion last night. Space weather news update. We're over here at Solarham. A little bit of low-level flaring in the low M range earlier today. Let's take a look at the latest HMI intensity over at the disk. There's those sunspots, a row of 4 of them. They look like a constellation. Another big spot here, Plage. Nothing really happening on the sun as Earth-facing quiet is king. The small low-level G1 geomagnetic storms we had forecasted with NOAA from the coronal hole never materialized, KP barely getting above 3. And there is probably no aurora to be seen this evening. So, and all is quiet on the geomagnetic forecast moving forward as the telemetry is showing enhanced activity, but nothing spectacular coming into the picture. What is spectacular is the Tonga volcanic eruption, one of the largest explosions ever recorded on Earth in modern times. It caused a super bubble in the Earth's ionosphere, disrupting satellite navigation, for goodness sakes. Now, with technology increasingly embedded in our everyday lives, it's becoming more important to understand space weather. Hello! And its impacts on tech. When one hears space weather, one typically thinks of a huge explosion on the sun, like a coronal mass ejection hurled towards Earth, which create beautiful displays of aurora. But a big enough blast, well, and it's boom time, kids, it could affect the grid. But not all space weather starts at the sun. The volcanic eruption in Tonga in January 2022 was so large it created waves in the upper atmosphere that constituted their own form of space weather. It was one of the largest explosions in modern history, as I just said, and impacted GPS across Australia and Southeast Asia. There is a new study in the Journal of Space Weather that the eruption caused a super plasma bubble over northern Australia that lasted for hours. Hours of powers. Here is the paper. We will link it below. The ionospheric effects of the 2022 Hunga Tonga volcano eruption and the associated impacts on GPS precise point positioning across the Australian region. Whew, that is a mouthful. Now, according to the study, they showed that Hunga Tonga Haipai volcano eruption caused choppy conditions in the ionosphere that lasted for days. The size of the waves it generated in the ionosphere were similar in size to those created by coronal mass ejections and geomagnetic storms. That is impressive. Now, while these waves influenced GPS data around the world for days after the eruption, their impact on positioning was rather limited in comparison to another type of disturbance in the ionosphere, a super plasma bubble that formed in the wake of the eruption. This is insane. The ionosphere is a layer high above the Earth's atmosphere at altitudes from 80 to 800 kilometers, and it comprises gas with lots of electrically charged particles, which makes it a plasma. Such plasma bubbles occur regularly. They form due to a phenomenon called generalized Rayleigh-Taylor instability. It's similar to what happens when heavy fluid sits on top of less heavy fluid. And this is pretty insane. Here are the equatorial plasma bubbles in a simulation showing the size and extent of normal-sized plasma bubbles on the left, and to that of the super bubble that reached above Northeast Australia on the right here. Super bubble boom. All the links will be below. Now, moving on, the James Webb Space Telescope discovers gargantuan geysers on Saturn's moon, and that's a Saturn moon boom, blasting water hundreds of miles into space. And here is an artist representation of the phenomenon with Cassini hovering above Saturn's icy moon Enceladus. Scientists caught Saturn's icy moon Enceladus spraying a huge plume of watery vapor far into space. And that plume likely contains many of the chemical ingredients for life. Now, scientists detailed the eruption glimpsed by the James Webb Space Telescope in November of 2022 at a conference at the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore on May 17th. It's immense, according to Sarah Foggy, a planetary astronomer at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center. She said at the conference, according to Nature, according to Foggy, the full research paper on the massive plume is pending, but the artist representations are fantastic. And one final note, how solar farms took over California deserts, an oasis has become a Dead Sea. Would you just look at that? It is absolutely disgusting. Now, residents feel trapped and choked by dust, while experts warn environmental damage is solving one problem by creating others. And this is the plight of the green movement. It's a ruse that is literally more destructive and damaging than anything we're doing currently to planet Earth. And that is a boom to knowledge. Please share this video as we are shadow banned across the networks, and we need your help to grow. Become a Patreon. Support the work we do. We love you. Be safe. And that is a boom.